1-100 citizen network. And in 8 weeks, 100 million people. The 8th week, the 9th week, the whole world, 1 billion people could be united to require the rich in all the countries to weatherize their homes and invest in solar energy, renewable energy. They can make fortunes, and that would create jobs. It would end unemployment. It would solve the climate crisis. It would end energy insecurity, relying on the sun and the earth, geothermal. It would end poverty, and would beginning the end of unbridled greed. We can require the rich to weatherize their own homes and invest in renewable energy independence. We could be an example for the rest of the world. It's a simple little thing. So let's be more smart than the Egyptians or the Tunisians or the Libyans. Let's raise our voice over the internet, over the phone, over leaflets. We don't even have to come out in the street like was done on Earth Day. All we got to do is just focus our mind on this unifying principle of economic justice. And there's 3 aspects that I'll be focusing on. Now there's 8 aspects after we do the first 3. And the second aspect, we can get this done in 8 hours, not 8 days, not 8 weeks, but all we got to do is email 10 people my leaflet, which you can get at you can get it at dkseed@gmail.com, or mail my post office box, 2866, New York 10163. 10163. New York. Dedicated parents, teachers, students, public, willing to help improve the curriculum, which I'll be talking about, or help with my TV show, contact me. And you'll get back automatically a leaflet. But you can send without the 3, or with the 3, 2 different kinds of leaflets. Send my email to at least 10 of your contacts, willing to likewise. Okay, number 2, that was number 1. $500 billion a year from a pre-tax. They don't have to pay even a penny if they would just do the right thing and weatherize their houses and solarize them and invest in renewable energy. They don't have to pay this pre-tax. And we could elect people through 1-100 networks. That's like a modern day town hall. So what's the second principle beside a $500 billion? Doesn't have to be paid by anybody, just have to be invested wisely. The rich got the money, let them do it. The top 10%. Okay, here's the facts. Before the 2007, before the 2008 disaster, the rich gained $21 trillion. They gained it in a net worth from 98 to 2007, 9 years. On average, they gained $200,000 each household for 9 straight years on average. That's $1.8 million they gained. Well, the bottom 90% of all households gained a little over $7,000 a year, which added up to about $63,000, which they lost because it was in their houses and there was a housing bubble. They lost everything. So they had $18.4 trillion in 2007, and now they got under $12 trillion, what they started with in 1997, 98 I mean, they had $12 trillion, and now they still got $12 trillion. They didn't gain anything. And the bottom 90% has also lost in their income because all the money from all the productivity that the people create is going up to the top 10% in wealth. So they made $200,000 each household every year for 9 years. That's $1.8 million. Okay, so now they had 46 trillion. Now they got about 42 trillion. So a 2% tax on wealth would be over $800 billion every year. That could be to pay off our debt. Maybe $400 billion every year to pay off our debt. We don't have to take money from the babies, from the poor and the middle class. We don't have to cut food stamps like they just did. Those cruel Republicans who are out of their mind. So what was I saying? I'm talking about wealth. 2% wealth tax would bring in $800 billion. Now, we could spend $1 billion to build housing for the homeless, for 1 million people. Single room occupancy, a decent place to live, so people can get on their feet. And they should be required to give back, to learn the skills that are needed to help our country, to help people. So it should be a quid pro quo. We give you decent housing, to do something for it. Be required. So $100 billion of the $800 billion every year from a 2% tax on wealth, then another $100 billion to help the sick. How about another $100 billion to make supportive housing for the mentally ill? Another $100 billion for the poor. That's $400 billion I just ticked off. And the other $400 billion could pay off our national debt. So that's a simple idea. And the third idea, which I should have talked about earlier, but okay, is a carbon tax that, according to James Hansen, which I should be returned to all the people equally. So if we had as Robert Reich, in his book, 2010 book, Aftershock, he recommends a $35 tax on each metric ton of carbon dioxide. And the tax would be applied at the coal mines and at the ports of entry of these carbon products. And it would be immediately given back to all the people, and deposited in a bank account, or if you don't have a bank account, to put on a debit card. So everybody in the first year would bring a $35 tax, would bring in, according to Robert Reich, would bring in $210 billion. And if you divide that among 300 million people, everybody would get $700. So every student, over 53 million of them, could get a laptop computer with top programs inside. Imagine. And we could rehire all the laid off teachers and more. Just from and then every year we should raise this carbon tax. And Reich says when he reaches $115 a ton of CO2, then it would bring in $600 billion. If that was shared equally among 300 million people, everybody would be getting $2,000 each year. And then we could, that would, if you don't want something, you should tax it out of existence. We don't want carbon dioxide. Let's tax it out of existence and bring in the solar age. Solar energy, renewable energy. It's doable. We can leave the, we don't need nuclear power. So with this tax on carbon, it would raise the price at $600, I mean at $115 a ton, it would raise the price $1 on a gallon of gasoline, according to Robert Reich, and 6 cents on a kilowatt hour of electricity. But we'd be getting so much back from the tax, and then we'd be getting jobs, and we'd end unemployment. We'd solve the climate crisis. We'd end insecurity of energy. We'd get rid of poverty with all this wealth going to the people. And that's the 3 issues to review. $500 billion without taking a penny away from the top 10 to 20% from their pre-tax income. Either they do the right thing, weatherize their houses and solarize them, or else pay a pre-tax 10% on their income, which would bring in over $500 billion every year. But they won't pay the tax. They'll do the right thing finally, investing in weatherizing their houses, solarizing their houses, and in renewable energy. And in addition, they can weatherize the houses of others and share the energy savings, from stopping the heat from leaking out in the winter or leaking in the summer, which requires air conditioning. So the second thing is a carbon tax. Start off with $35 per ton. That would increase the gasoline price by about 30 cents a gallon, and electricity by 1.8 cents a kilowatt hour. You see? And every person would get $700 back immediately, and all the students could get laptop computers. You know, and all laid-off teachers could be rehired. Oh, I didn't press this stuff. I don't know what time it is, so I'm going to go look and see what's happening. I lost. Oh, I didn't take any. Amazing. So let me see how much time I got left on this thing. Oh, it's almost over. 27 minutes and 36 seconds. So maybe I'll just talk a bit from here, and then we'll start the second half of the show. But there are other things I haven't talked about, which I will right now. Let's see. So I want this to go to 29 minutes. Okay, I got another 2 minutes to talk. I'll talk from behind. And in the meantime, I'll put up my sign. Okay, so you can leave the 3 out from DKC3, and you get back a leaflet that you can email your friends that talks about 3 things. The pre-tax, $500 billion, which they don't have to pay if they would weatherize their homes. A carbon tax that's given back equal to the people, $35 a metric ton. I only got 20 seconds left. Okay, so maybe in the next week, I got 15 seconds to go. Next week, I'll be talking a lot about math, and maybe the first 5 minutes I'll talk about things I haven't talked about now that are also important. So I'll be seeing you in about 1 sec. Hi, welcome to my show, Ethical. Math, Science, and Ethical Living. I ought to call my show Economic Justice Networking, because that's what I'm going to be promoting. But I said last week for those people in Brooklyn and Queens that I'd be spending 5 minutes in the beginning to talk about economic justice, and then the rest of the time on mathematics and science, the important topic of constant rates, which is poorly understood and taught in the school system and even by science.